Jeffrey, we had a wild Saturday.
We did. It was a good Saturday.
I'm gonna give you the floor now, and I'm gonna allow you to have your moment.
All right,
you can take your victory lap on Creighton. Go ahead, do it. Do what you got to do.
The Creighton Blue Jays absolutely blew out the number 3 team in the country, Villanova. They weren't ranked 3. I get it, but everybody and their mother, beyond Gonzaga and Baylor, if you were to put your house on one team, on one program, Rob Dauster, to win the national title, everybody and their mother would choose Villanova. But yesterday, that might have changed because the Creighton Blue Jays looked like the Creighton Blue Jays that I had as one of those teams that I think could make a run, a deep run, a Final Four run. Remember, last year, they were firmly entrenched as one of the teams that could win it all until, first of all, Marcus Zagorowski got hurt. Number 2, obviously, the season, the NCAA tournament was scrapped. But they were unbelievable last year. And then Zagorowski got hurt. They lost Tyshawn Alexander, obviously, early to the pros. But Zagorowski just hasn't looked himself. He got hurt again earlier this year. Finally, yesterday, I think Marcus Zagorowski looked the part of an All-American. And he didn't even shoot it great, but he shot it well enough, and he commanded the floor. To me, he controlled the tempo. He was playing free. He was playing with confidence. And if that's the case, Rob, this team can score with anybody, and they're better defensively than Iowa. We know that.
Yeah, I'm worried about their consistency. Like we've seen too many games where, like the Georgetown game, where they lose at home to the Hoyas. But they've won 6 of the last 7. They've won 3 in a row. This was probably the best performance we've seen out of Creighton all season long.
It is.
Marcus Zagorowski is playing the best bat. Like yesterday was the best game that he's played all season.
Yep.
Maybe as well as he's played in his entire career. So I do think that if they can continue to play like this, then yes, you're right. I'm not sold that this was more than just like one great performance. I need to see more consistency. But
again, you just look around the country and you're like, okay, other than lately Ohio State, who else has been so good and so consistent? I mean, Michigan was. We'll see what happens today when they come back against Wisconsin at the Kohl Center. But for the most part, nobody has had these great stretches, right? Like,
yes, you're absolutely right. But so Creighton is amassed with a group of like 15 other teams that are kind of in that, like, well, yeah, I guess they can make a run, but like there's all this stuff that's also wrong with them. So
somebody's got to get there. Somebody else has to stay, not get there, but stay in Indianapolis.
You are right. Somebody has to get to the Final Four.
This is not a final,
by definition, there has to be 4 teams in the Final Four. You know what I think, though? Yeah. Here's what I kind of think the NCAA should do, right? Tell me what you think of this idea.
Here we go.
Take Baylor and Gonzaga out of the NCAA tournament, right? And just let them play a 7-game series for the national title, because that's what we want to see. Let them go 7.
Listen,
then this is what you do. Then just call like the NCAA tournament. Just have that be the NIT, and just play everybody else, because that's kind of what we're at right now. We got a bunch of NIT teams in Baylor and Gonzaga. So
what I like about your theory, here's what I like about your theory. I don't like the way you've got it set up, but I would say if Baylor and Gonzaga both get to the championship game, then they should play a 7-game series.
Yep. Well, I thought about this, right? And I think it was I think Alan, the Marquette fan, Alan Bykowski, I think is how you pronounce his name. He said this the other day and mentioned it to me on Twitter, and I think it's a really valid point, because if both of these teams get to the national title game undefeated, we don't want to play a series because we want that undefeated national championship, right? We want that guy that can create that team that can create history, that memory, that all-time great program. And I was like, I never even thought about it like that. You don't want to risk having a team with a loss on their resume just because you decided to play like a 5-game series or whatever. So that
we're not playing a series, so we're kidding.
Yeah, so it doesn't
matter. But
yeah, it doesn't matter.
But it would be fun. It would be fun to watch those two go toe to toe for 7 games as opposed to a one-off. But yeah, I listen. I think everybody's rooting for it. I do. I think everybody's rooting for that Baylor Gonzaga game. I don't know how good the ratings would be. I think the diehards, I shouldn't say everybody, I think the diehard college basketball fan is rooting for that, unless you went to Michigan or Ohio State or something.
I think the ratings would be pretty good because the games would be really, really high level, right?
Yeah, I don't know how many.
The ratings for Virginia, Texas Tech were still pretty good.
It's going to be interesting this year without being in offices, how much that affects people doing brackets. Are they going to be able to do it? I mean, obviously you can do it over Zoom and all that stuff, and much of it is done online anyway now, so it shouldn't affect it that much. The banter won't be there quite the same. All right. Yeah. All right. I got to give you props. You came through, and hopefully people saw. I don't think I even did it in BetSports, but I took it.
I did it in BetSports. It's the third time this week we've gotten information at some point during the day that said like, "Hey, someone's going to be out," and we logged in the bet, and I've made a bunch of money off of it this week. It was Oregon on Wednesday, it was Wake Forest on Tuesday, and on Saturday it was Missouri State because I got a text that said that there's going to be 4 guys out 2 hours before it became public, and all of a sudden Bradley's missing like 4 of their top 6 guys, and boom. We banked on it. So that was
taking it again today. Are you taking it again at 10 today?
I
took it. I don't love it now, but I took it.
Yeah, I'm a little less comfortable with it
no kidding.
But it makes sense that line moved,
7 points. It moved 7 points.
Yeah, Bradley got their ass kicked yesterday. So is there anything else from Saturday's games that you think we need to touch on? The one thing that I will say is this. They released the projected top 16 seeds, right? And Oklahoma ended up being number 12 on that list and being a number 3 seed.
Yeah.
They beat one of the teams on the 3 seed line above them. One of the teams on the 3 seed line above them, Tennessee, lost. And then there is Virginia and Houston, who are would be directly above Oklahoma right now, assuming that Oklahoma jumped West Virginia and Tennessee. And Oklahoma has 5 quad 1 wins. Virginia and Houston combined have 5 quad 1 wins. Right. Virginia has not beaten a team ranked inside the top 45 in the net. Oklahoma has 5 of those wins. They have 5 top 30 wins. Houston beat Texas Tech on a neutral, but the only other thing that they've done is like beat Boise State at home and win at SMU. Right? It's not like either of those are great wins. So the net ratings themselves, like Oklahoma's trailing, I think they're like 20th or something, and then Virginia and Houston are both like 5 or 6. But I do expect Oklahoma to find a way to I would not be shocked if they ended up on the 2 seed line when it's all said and done, when we actually get the real bracket. Because look, Virginia's not playing anyone else that's really going to end up boosting their profile. Neither is Houston.
Hey, who's your? All right. I just tweeted out earlier today my top 6 or 7 candidates for the coach of the year today. Who's your coach of the year? If you had to give the award today to somebody, I added Lon Kruger, so I have a top 7 right now.
I called you out on that. You didn't even respond. I called you out on that.
Yeah, I don't follow you.
Yeah, you gotta get Lon Kruger in the mix. Right now, Deshaun and I had a long conversation about this the other day. I'm kind of torn on it, right? Like, generally speaking, the coach of the year award goes to the person that had the most surprising season and the most overachieving season. Yeah. And so I think Lon Kruger and Chris Holtman and Juwan Howard all really make a lot of sense in that category.
Yep.
But Scott Drew and Mark Few were projected and picked to be the 2 best teams in the country, right? They were ranked top 2 in the preseason. They're still top 2 in America right now. Neither of them have lost. Both of them have played difficult schedules. At some point, when you are thought of as the best team in the country and end up being the best team in the country by a long, long way and by a wide, wide margin, and there goes my daughter screaming in the background, then you got to get credit for that too, right? I think that we absolutely have to. I would probably give co-coach of the year to Mark Few and Scott Drew at this point, just because of the fact that in a year where there is so much uncertainty, one of the things that you can bank on is that Baylor is going to be awesome and Gonzaga is going to be awesome. So I think I would probably give co-coach of the year to those 2 gentlemen.
I would agree. I don't like agreeing with you, but I'm going to agree with you. This is the 2nd day in a row. I'm going to do it as well. And because, like you said, you're in a pandemic. They have lived up to the expectations. They have run the table so far. And they have also done it at places where it's not easy to do it. If you're doing it at Kentucky, Kansas, Carolina, Duke, even Arizona, whatever, it's been done. But to do it, I actually think it's harder. What Scott Drew has done at Baylor is actually harder than what Mark Few has done. And what Mark Few has done is ridiculously impressive. Going to the tournament every single year at Gonzaga. If you haven't been to Spokane, you need to go. It's amazing. So what these guys have done, building these programs into national powers right now and living up to the hype in a pandemic is absolutely insane. So I'm with you. I'm giving co-coach of the year to Mark Few and Scott Drew. They deserve it. No disrespect to the Chris Holtmans, the Lon Krugers, the Juwan Howards. Nate Oates has done an unbelievable job. Casey Alexander, probably the mid-major coach of the year at Belmont. They've lost one game.
Yeah, I mean, Porter Mosier's been awesome too.
No doubt. No doubt. I'm just doing Casey Alexander. I'm giving him it because he took over for Rick Byrd. He took over for an institution there. Yeah. And what they've done in a really good league, a really, really good OVC is amazing, and he's gotten no credit for it. Zero.
Yeah. All right. So just to finish recapping yesterday, Ohio State smacked around Indiana. Florida State came off of their pause and beat Wake Forest in overtime. Cade Cunningham kind of struggled again, but Oklahoma State was able to outlast Kansas State. We just mentioned Oklahoma. They played a double overtime thriller and won at West Virginia in probably – I think West Virginia's played two of like the best games of the season at home. It was West Virginia, Oklahoma, and West Virginia, Texas Tech. They become like must-see television.
I just love that. I never thought I'd say that. I love West Virginia.
Yeah, they're so much fun to watch. Texas beat up on TCU, kind of got right a little bit. How about this? LSU and Arkansas are now tied for second in the SEC, which is not something I ever thought I would say. LSU beat up on Tennessee yesterday, who they looked bad. Tennessee did. They looked bad and banged up and just kind of like
I hate you. I hate you for putting me on to the Vols earlier this year. Like I think you put me. You've tried with other teams. You tried with Pittsburgh. I didn't fall for that shit.
We won a couple bets on Pittsburgh though.
We did. Who else did you try with?
I don't remember. Alabama, Tennessee. I don't know.
Who else does Snow make fun of you for? Pittsburgh.
Well, yeah, but I mean, okay. First of
Auburn. Yeah,
the Pittsburgh thing is ridiculous because it was like after the Duke win, I was like, I'm not completely sold that Pitt's not like good. And it ended up they weren't good, but like whatever, okay. And the Auburn one, we won like 6 straight bets on.
No. I was with you with Auburn.
Do you know what happened? Like I think I had Auburn right, and I'm going to take credit for having them right because what I said was Sharik Cooper there, they're a different team, and if they can find a way to get another playmaker going, then all of a sudden they become really dangerous. But they don't have another playmaker. And teams have figured out if you throw 2 guys at Shareef Cooper, then he take the ball out of his hands, then they stink. They figured out that Shareef Cooper can't shoot, right? And the idea, look, I don't want to be too harsh on the kid, but like I've seen mock drafts where Shareef Cooper is going in like the top 10, and I don't get that. So I don't know. Anyway, Arkansas also won at Missouri in overtime yesterday. Gonzaga smacked San Francisco. USC got a win over Washington State on the road, and Virginia, like I told you, Jeff, knocked off North Carolina at home in a game.
Yeah, you did. I'll give you that.
Seemed to get that going. But I think the game that's the biggest talking point, and we can kind of tie this into a preview for today, is that Loyola ran all over Drake in the second half. They were down 3 at halftime, jumped all over him, ended up winning by 27